Hey there, and welcome to the Gentle Beginnings podcast. I am Toby Deutsch, childbirth educator, founder of Gentle Beginnings, and creator of the Brain Body Birth course. If you're pregnant, preparing for birth, navigating postpartum, or just figuring out life with a newborn, you're in the right place. There is so much information out there, and it can feel like a lot. My goal with this podcast is to make things feel a little simpler, to help you feel less overwhelmed, less stressed, and more confident in yourself and your choices. Think of this as a place where you can take a deep breath, learn something new, and walk away feeling a little more calm, prepared, and excited for what's ahead. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to the Gentle Beginnings podcast. My name is Toby Deutsch, and this is our very first episode. I am so excited to have you here. Today's episode is going to be all about what led me to this work, why I care so deeply about birth and motherhood, and how this all started from a very personal place for me, and honestly continues to be a deeply personal mission that drives me forward every single day. So whether you're listening while folding laundry, driving, going for a walk, nursing your baby, or maybe you're pregnant and trying to prepare your heart and mind for what's ahead, welcome. I'm really happy you're here. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, and enjoy. So let's go all the way back. For as long as I can remember, birth felt very mysterious to me. I was a very curious child, and growing up, pregnancy and birth were topics that felt very whispered about. It was very hush-hush. Anytime adults started talking about it around children, the conversation would suddenly just get quieter or stop altogether. And I don't say that with blame at all. I really think that many women and many families, birth just wasn't openly discussed. And a lot of women themselves were carrying fear and confusion or difficult experiences that they never really fully processed and also wanted to protect their children from. But as a child, when nobody explains something to you, your imagination starts filling in the gaps. So over time, I started collecting little fragments from conversations around me. And those fragments weren't exciting, and it didn't feel like I came upon a treasure. Instead, the stories that I heard were about pain, emergencies, fear, complications. And even without realizing it, I started developing this subconscious belief that birth was dangerous. So fast forward to becoming pregnant with my first baby. And while I was so excited to become a mother, underneath all of that excitement was a lot of fear. My first birth was difficult for me emotionally. And again, this isn't about blaming anyone or saying everything was terrible. There were caring providers. There were good moments too. But I walked away feeling really overwhelmed, disconnected, and very unprepared for what birth actually was. And I remember thinking afterwards that why did I feel so powerless? Why did I not understand what was happening in my own body? But life moved on, and when my son got a little older, I got pregnant again. That pregnancy ended in miscarriage. And I share that because miscarriage is so common, and yet so many women feel alone in it. But for me, the loss itself was painful, but what followed afterwards completely changed my life. I started experiencing severe anxiety and panic attacks. And I just want to put a little trigger warning if you're going through that right now. I know that when I was going through that time, hearing about other people's anxiety just triggered more anxiety for me. So if that's you, I just want to tell you that my heart is with you. And if you want to just skip ahead, then go for it. But let me just dive right back in. When I say that I had anxiety, I mean severe, debilitating anxiety. I had insomnia. I would lie awake all night, terrified that I wouldn't sleep. I had physical symptoms constantly, so like racing heart, tingling, dizziness, numbness. I became convinced that something was seriously wrong with me. I was Googling symptoms late into the night. I was spiraling deeper and deeper into fear. And what made it even harder was that from the outside, life kept moving. I still had responsibilities, I still had to function, but internally, I felt like I was drowning. Eventually, I reached out for help. And slowly, little by little, I started climbing out of that dark place. But that experience, it really changed me. It made me realize just how connected the mind and body truly are. And I became fascinated by the nervous system, by anxiety, by how fear lives in the body, by how our thoughts can really shape physical experiences. And naturally, that curiosity started leading me back to birth. I started researching nonstop the physiology of labor, hormones, pain perception, the brain-body connection. I was looking into things like mindfulness, sports psychology, nervous system regulation, trauma, advocacy, birth education. And for the first time, birth started making sense to me in a completely different way. It wasn't anymore this random, terrifying event that just happens to women, but as an experience that's deeply impacted by how safe, supported, informed, and prepared a woman feels. And then something else started happening. As I opened up about my own experiences, women started opening up to me too. And I realized that this was so much bigger than me. Women were carrying difficult birth experiences, some traumatic, some were confusing, some were disappointing, and some seemed empowering on the outside, but internally they felt fear, they felt filled with fear or helplessness. And over again, I kept saying the same thing. Women were entering birth feeling pregnant, but mentally and emotionally, they were totally unsupported. Nobody was really teaching women how birth works beyond surface level information. Nobody was talking enough about fear, about the nervous system, about advocacy, mindset, about how the environment around you can shape your experience, about how preparation is so much more than what's at your hospital bag. And once again, I realized I couldn't stop. So when I got pregnant again, I knew that I needed to prepare in a whole different way. Eventually, I found Gentle Birth, which is a program that completely transformed the way I view birth and preparation. It brought together neuroscience, mindfulness, evidence-based birth education, and nervous system regulation in a way that really clicked for me. And after I had my baby and I had the most beautiful and redemptive healing birth experience, I knew that I couldn't stop. I knew that I finally hit that treasure trove that more women need to know about, because this was so much bigger than birth. I felt like suddenly I was more regulated. I was calmer. I felt more secure. I felt more confident than ever before. And I felt like I had these tools that helped me to regulate and stay present and help me see things for the bigger picture. I was able to recognize that my thoughts weren't facts, that thoughts can come and go and it doesn't define who I am as a person. It helped me feel more self-compassionate. It changed me as a person. It really, really changed me as a person. And I said, if this helped me, can you imagine how many more people it can help? And for a brief time, I considered becoming a doula because I felt so connected to birth. I really wanted to just stay in the space. I even remember thinking, okay, if I cannot become a doula right now, maybe I call into my OBGYN's office and ask them if they're hiring a secretary. Mind you, I had a really good position in a corporate company, but I was ready to leave that behind because I just wanted to be in the birth space. I really so desperately wanted to be there because I just felt this connection, this pull, this drive, and I couldn't stop. But I had a newborn baby and I couldn't just now leave for nights to be able to support other women as they birth. And I also knew that being there at the birth is so amazing, and getting to support women as they cross over that threshold of childbirth is the most powerful and privileged thing I can experience. And when a woman accompanies another woman in the birth space, it's such an honor. But I also knew that there's so much of what happens before the birth that influences how the birth goes. And I've seen it over and over again, just, at this point, attending births and also having worked with so many women before birth, that the preparation before influences so much about what happens on the day. And sometimes being there as a doula and and supporting women that are coming with history, with past traumatic experiences. They're just busy doing damage control. But when a woman comes in prepared beforehand, then the doula can really shine. The doula can really, really support the woman in a way that helps amplify the woman's own empowering thoughts and tools that she has within her, and helping her tap into that, because it's all about helping the woman feel like she can move mountains, and that after the birth, she should feel like she just did something major. So I was left with this question: what do I do now? Where do I go from here? And I then decided, why don't I just teach women what I know? And I started doing research again, and I thought about different programs that I can teach. I checked into hypnobirthing, hypnobabies, evidence-based birth, but ultimately I came back to gentle birth, which is the program I did for myself, because I realized that a positive birth can look so different for every person. And many of the programs that I was looking into were supporting one type of message, which was either unmedicated, pain-free, or home birth type of birth scenarios, when we know that sometimes women need that epidural. Sometimes a woman might need to have a cesarean, and sometimes birth can feel painful. But the common denominator should be that regardless of the journey that a woman's birth takes, she should still feel like it was a positive experience. She should still feel like it was powerful, and that she felt empowered through that. So with gentle birth and nervous system regulation, the way your mindset is can influence how you feel in any scenario. So if your mind is in a good place, then you can handle whatever comes your way. So I felt the most pulled to that program because that's the program that I've worked with. So I did the work, and I started training, and I got certified. And the certification process looked different than probably most certification processes for different childbirth education programs, because we had to go through two different types of certifications. The first one was childbirth education, but also I needed to certify to be a mindfulness instructor, and to really understand mindfulness, to really understand neuroscience and the nervous system. And that felt so healing for me, because I wasn't only learning for other women, but I was learning it on a deep personal level, because everything felt so real to me and so familiar, because I was the woman that went through this painful, panicky experience, and learning about this healed me in a way that I didn't know I needed to heal. After I was done certifying, I now actually had to go on and do the thing, and it felt really scary, but I kept going, because I knew that if I won't do this, then who will? And I knew that women needed this. So I started creating this little program. I did the PowerPoint. I practiced in the mirror. But more than that, it was just tapping back into how was my personal experience and how can I bring this to other women. So at one point, it started changing from being something that is a scripted speech to just changing into, hey, let me share this as from one mother to another mother, right? From a woman to woman. And I had women coming into my house, to my home, in my living room, sitting around the room, and we would just connect and we would talk. And we would just go so much deeper than the stages of labor. We started talking about women's histories and their childhoods, and not in a therapist-y type of way, because I'm not that type at all, but more of like, what are the messages that you have stored about birth? What are the messages that you have stored in your subconscious about motherhood? And week by week, I started seeing shifts as women would practice the tools that I would share with them, and listening to the meditations and listening to the hypnosis and actually doing those research-based techniques that really changed the brain. And I started seeing more confidence. I started seeing more joy in these women, and and I couldn't stop, and I kept going. And as I kept going, I knew that I wanted to do more. So I started taking more trainings, and I took one really powerful training on postpartum, which is really going into the traditional ways that women can heal in postpartum that I feel has been really lost in our modern Western society, and bringing all that back. So I was looking at mind, body, spirit, and trying to tap into all of that. And I just kept going, and it became so much bigger than me. And then the birth stories started to roll in, and every woman that gave birth and reported that she had a beautiful experience, it made me feel like I gave birth. It was so empowering. It was so special. Honestly, their stories inspire me still every single day. And this is a huge part of why I started this podcast, because these birth stories really matter, and women's experiences matter. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this podcast to everyone is because I want the space to feel like a space where we can have real conversations about all of it. So then I launched Brain Body Birth, which is an online self-paced birth course, because I knew that I needed to reach more people in a way that's accessible for more women. And I put in everything that I taught in my life classes for the past few years in a self-paced, step-by-step online course. And the feedback has been so wonderful, so lovely. And I just feel really honored that I get to be here. So let me tell you a little bit what we're going to be having on this podcast so that you can know what to expect. We're going to have birth stories. We're going to have interviews with other birth professionals. We're going to have conversations about mindset, about labor, about postpartum. We'll talk about hormones, advocacy, breastfeeding, healing, motherhood, all of it. And some episodes will be educational. Some will just feel cozy and lighthearted, and some might make you emotional. Some might completely change the way we think about birth. But more than anything, I really hope that this becomes a space where women feel seen, informed, empowered, and less alone. So if you're pregnant right now and listening to this, I just want you to know this. You deserve to feel supported, and you deserve to understand your options. You deserve preparation that includes your mind and emotions, and not just your body. If you want deeper support beyond this podcast, you can definitely check out the Brain Body Birth course. I also have some free resources on my website, including a mindfulness track that so many women use throughout pregnancy and labor. And I'll link everything below in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here for episode 1. It means so much to me, and I cannot wait to continue this journey together. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to your mind. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you're looking for more support on your journey, I'd love to invite you to check out my Brain Body Birth course at gentlebeginnings.life/BBB. That's gentlebeginnings.life/BBB. I created this course because I saw so many women walking into birth feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and unsure of what to expect. Brain Body Birth is designed to change that. Inside, I guide you through the mindset tools, evidence-based education, practical birth preparation, advocacy skills, and postpartum planning that can help you feel calm, confident, and ready for whatever path your birth takes. My goal isn't to help you have one specific type of birth. It's to help you understand your options, trust yourself, and walk into birth feeling informed, empowered, and supported. It's the course I wish every mom had before welcoming her baby. And if you found this episode helpful, I'd be so grateful if you shared with a friend, sister, or a fellow mom who could use a little extra support. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and comment if your platform allows it. Those simple actions make a huge difference and help me reach more women with this information. Until next time, take a deep breath, trust yourself, and remember, you are capable. Your body is wise, and you deserve to feel supported every step of the way. And just a quick reminder that the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider regarding your specific situation and medical care. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.